Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the National Guard products number 803V. This is a threshold. This is a, it's known by a lot of names. Bump up threshold is how I would know it in terms of a carpenter walking in and asking for it. I need a bump up, is what they would say. You know what that means, certainly. It's also known by it's known really by its more appropriate industry term, panic or latch track threshold. National Guard doesn't use either of those terms in their catalog, but that is certainly what it is that we're dealing with. This is, I'm going to slide the insert in a moment, this is what I would know as a constant latching, or a, maybe not constant latch, yeah, it is constant latching, I suppose, if you use it that way. A bump up threshold, a panic threshold, a, I've heard it referred to as a latch track threshold as well. And the 803 is representative of its profile. And I'm going to insert into this the vinyl that would be normally included with this. See if we can get that in there. I've got a profile had a small burr in it from when it was cut, and I just needed to clean out the burr of the aluminum. So that V material, the vinyl insert, and that's certainly what V stands for, they don't always slide in that easy. Sometimes they do take a little extra work to get installed into the unit, but this is what it's going to look like. The 803 may be perfect for your application. Might be a little tall. Perfect in the sense that, here's the bottom line, where you're going to use this is when you have commercial hollow metal doors and frames with a 3/4 inch undercut. The distance from the area that the door resides over to the bottom is 5/8. That's sounding pretty good. 5/8. My tape measure showing me a little shy on that. It's going to have an overall of 1 inch, according to the manufacturer. Maybe marginally shy. It's going to have an overall width of 5 inch. It has a material thickness of 100 thousandths, 0.100 thick. Now, this is an incredibly capable threshold, and it's used for a lot of installations. The most common installation is when a client wants their door to close up against this bump up feature, this raised portion to the profile, allowing you to have a very secure seal against the face of the door and the face of the threshold. That's where it's most often used. Not always, but there ought to be a door sweep added out here, assuming that this door does swing out. You want to put a door sweep out here so that you have a seal outside on the exterior, preventing the intrusion of the elements, rain, cold, etc., or insects, you know, whatever will crawl underneath there. So you want to dead stop it out here. So it's quite a belt and suspenders approach when you're sealing here and out here. However, this has, in addition to its dimensional compatibility with typical hollow metal, the ability of it to give a very positive seal, and it's 5 inch. Again, that's dimensionally compatible with common 5 3/4 frames. The other feature that this provides, we'll call it a panic or a latch track threshold. The area back here is literally intended for the Pullman latch from the bottom latch assembly of a surface vertical rod exit device to seal up directly against this. So where you're going to see this threshold used very successfully is in, of course, non-handicap compliant installations. You'll see it in those pairs of doors on the back wall of a big box store where you're going to have emergency exits, surface vertical rod. Those doors are weather stripped because they're rarely opened, hopefully. And the bump up style gives great positive seal on the interior. The sweeps on the outside do a great job. And in that application, you've got those 3 pair of doors sealed on the inside, sweep on the outside, Doors are closed, again, not handicap compliant, and those emergency exits wouldn't be. And that Pullman latch is going to rest right to the inside feature of that threshold, and that's going to give you a really elegant way to conduct a continuous seal at the bottom and not have your exit device hardware interrupt your threshold at all. Okay, so it's really elegant in that regard. Its only downfall is that it's not handicap compliant, which, you know, where you're using this probably isn't ever going to be. The rear door, the service door of a business where you're taking in cart traffic, you know, and a two-wheel cart will certainly go over that without any trouble. So a great piece of equipment for those purposes. There is a link below this video to the product brochure, and I would certainly recommend that you review that document because it will show you other bump-up style thresholds. You'll see the 803. Now, admittedly, the common one for hollow metal that we sell is the 884. But I would sure prefer to have the 803 because I get an extra 1/8 of an inch of contact between my door and the face of the insert. Okay, 5 inch is very common in all of these regards. Now, there are times when a client needs a shorter one, and that's where the 890 comes in, the 3/8 overall height, because they've got a little tighter margin than they would have otherwise had, or the doors and frames were ordered with a 1/2 inch undercut rather than the typical 3/4, because why have so much room underneath there? Bring the door down ever so slightly more and use a shorter threshold. That would be really good. You'll also note that on the lower right-hand corner, the bumper seal, the V is what you're going to get. V is vinyl. V is the least capable of all inserts. It is not good in extreme temperatures. It will fatigue and fail with exposure to ultraviolet. You would only order it if you didn't know any different, or if cost was the most important thing. I would be looking to do there. You'll see N, S, and P, neoprene, pile, silicone. All of these items, all 4 of them, and others, other insert material, have their own significant advantage that serves only that piece. Vinyl for me is economy. No big deal if you want to have a better insert on a single threshold in terms of cost, but if you're ordering 300 of them, yeah, the spec may not be clear. You have to have a bump-up threshold with a seal insert. Vinyl is probably what you'll order. N is neoprene. Neoprene is going to be a material that will be substantially capable of keeping the intrusion of water out. It's less flexible, but is going to be really great for water intrusion. Think of car tire. If it's closed cell neoprene, it will be really great for water intrusion. Silicone is phenomenal because it's highly flexible, especially in very hot environments like the top of a roof of a power generating station in the southern United States, where triple digits will be the standard application. Pile is good because it's highly compressible. The piles themselves are known to be a very effective guard against the intrusion of insects. I've been told by people who make pile and bristle weather stripping that insects, if they land on it, they don't like it, they take off. But also, if the jambs are towed or twisted at all, and you put that threshold down and you need to have more compression on one side of that door opening, or you might have a door that's warped, but you want the threshold to be kind of put in place, the pile will still stand proud, where you're not going to come quite as tight to the face of the bump up as you would otherwise. So pile is great for those reasons. If it was me, I'd probably go with silicone all the time if I needed one product to use in all instances. Very flexible, which means it's not going to give you a substantial amount of... it's not going to act as a substantial obstacle to the closing force of your door closer, nor would pile. Neoprene's going to be a bit stiffer, certainly, and vinyl would be right below that in terms of that. But this material will certainly close and collapse. Now, in terms of the commonality of these thresholds, they're not common at all. And in my opinion, they should be. If it's not handicap compliant, I would use them all the time. In fact, you're going to find bump-up type thresholds used in the application mentioned earlier, but you'll see it used when you are trying to also seal a door for sound infiltration. You know, you're going to have a seal at the bottom of the door other than just a door sweep. and it's quite effective at that. The 803 is available in the mill finish, which is what this is. This is an 803V. If it was an 803 DKB-V, then it would be dark bronze. And National Guard is actually a darker than average dark bronze finish on their aluminum. This is listed in the site in lots of different lengths, everything from 2 foot to 8 foot, and we're in the process of adding them in longer lengths. The advantage of staying shorter than 84 inches, the cost to ship has become quite prohibitive on longer lengths. If you have need for a custom length, by all means let us know by ordering the next longest piece or pieces and indicate in the comment field the length you'd like for us to cut the material back to. That will save you the trouble of not only cutting it, but potentially drilling another hole and countersinking it. Speaking of that countersink, screws are included. They appear to be about a number 10 by 1.5 flathead Phillips wood screw. Okay. So if you have need for a custom length, order the next longest piece or pieces. We'll not only cut it to the length, but we'll give you that countersink at the proper distance from the edge and the proper center to center as well. You can do a slip-resistant coating on this. It would be known as SIA, which literally stands for Slick It Ain't. That's what National Guard calls that, Slick It Ain't. Abrasive coating that will work to prevent slippage on thresholds, which does occur. I don't think you're going to have it on this type of threshold, but smooth top, you'll certainly. I've walked over smooth top thresholds and saw my heel just kind of go, and I realized, Slick It Ain't. That's what you need. There is a link finally below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the National Guard products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the National Guard product 803V in a 36-inch length, or any other length for that matter, or any other National Guard product whose name is synonymous with weather stripping, but they don't only do that, they do flood barriers, they do louvers, they do metal vision frames. I don't know if they do louvers. I'm sure that not sure, I believe they do. That'll be in the catalog. And then take a look at their bronze and stainless options when it comes to weather stripping and gasketing as well. Thank you very much.